M3.
Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast,
M3.
the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners
M3.
to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4,
M3.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, president, of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group and the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. I'm really excited and honored. I have a general manager and managing partner of a dealer group, my friend Nelson Lyles. Nelson, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much.
And this is
John.
oh man, it's my pleasure. This is awesome because we don't normally do these podcasts like on site. They're usually done either in the studio in Philadelphia, New Jersey, or they're through Zoom. So we were here on site doing training, and I wanted to just take advantage of your knowledge. So let's kind of introduce you to the automotive community, man, on a national level. Tell us a little about you. How long have you been in the automotive industry for?
I've been in the automobile industry for about 16 years.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was in the United States Navy as an officer.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you very much. Got into the car business, eventually turned around, ended up being in finance, did every variable part of the industry that you could possibly do. You
know, I wasn't aware of that. So let's start with that. Being in the military,
yes, sir.
Especially as an officer, there's a lot of training that you received. There's also just like professionalism, things like that. How do you think your military training, your military background prepared you to being an executive in the automotive industry? First
time that I left home, naturally, like everybody else, my home life was one where, you had your immediate family, and those were the people that you did. By the time I turned around and got to college, I turned around and discovered that, wow, there's a much bigger world than my own little neighborhood at home. But when I got into the Navy, I really discovered how I had to learn to live and operate. And people come from different areas, different backgrounds, have different practices and different beliefs. Bringing that fast forward to the car business, I've yet to be in a dealership where that same dynamic is not there every single day.
No, absolutely. So let's just talk about this. Do you like hiring veterans or like reservists?
It's funny that you mentioned that. I had we do some different services with Bradley On Demand. One is your HR.
Yes.
And Naima and your staff had set an appointment today with a young man that's a U.S. Marine Corps veteran that actually I had an interview with earlier today. And to answer your question directly, yes, we hired him. He starts on the 15th.
Oh, shout out to Naima. No, but I love that. And here's the thing. I'm really passionate about this. And again, this is the first time we're talking about this. It wasn't not rehearsed. It really sincerely breaks my heart that there are soldiers that don't transition well. And some of these soldiers actually take their lives. You know what I mean? Because they don't know how to transition to civilian life. Is there any way with your background, how can dealers tap into this amazing pool of quality human beings for employment?
We find that veterans make fabulous employees. They're fabulous additions to our team. One thing that you have to remember is that one thing that anybody that spent any time in the military has done is they're accustomed to orders. They're accustomed to missions. So what we found that if we can place them in positions where they understand what the mission is, understand what the marching orders are, they normally excel. And like nobody, as you know, regardless if they have a military background or not, nobody loves being micromanaged. So what we found with our veterans, if we're able, like I stated, put them in positions where they can be tasked with, they know what the objective is, they execute extremely well, and they perform at a really high level.
I love it. Now, I wasn't prepared to go through this military tangent, but you opened a door, so I want to jump into it. I don't know if you know this, but I had a nationally syndicated radio show.
Okay.
And I had the distinct honor to actually interview Lieutenant Commander Sean Matson from the Navy SEALs, from SEAL Team 3, SEAL Team 8. And we had a really awesome, remind me to send him a link for the show.
Okay.
One of the things I asked him is how important is training? And then what he had said to me, he said, Sean, it is absolutely vital for any type of, military, but especially a combat soldiers, and then for special warfare, soldiers. And he told me something that kind of resonated with me. He said, Sean, I can't tell you the exact number, but I have literally had to, practice hundreds of thousands of times, removing my sidearm and just raising up in a tactical position, not even, pulling the trigger and firing. And he said, because to develop muscle memory, you know what I mean? Like, you're constantly got to practice, drill, rehearse. So with your military background, how important is that actual training in a dealership?
It's funny you say that. To not something as dramatic as pulling a firearm. But let's face it, most activities in a store, especially in ours, are activities that we do repeatedly day after day after day. So there's two ways to view it. You either have, we have a saying around here. We either have a knowing problem or a doing problem.
Right.
It's kind of basic. So what we try to do is the practice, we deal with a knowing. So we find that our team functions much better if they know the when and the why. Okay. So what we do is we practice the same things day in and day out, because it alleviates us having a problem going forward where all of a sudden we find ourselves going down a path of the unknown. In a perfect world, our staff would be able, let's say you started with a car deal, just for example, and God forbid something happened, you had to leave. We have a staff that can step back in and pick up right where you left off, because our processes ideally have been rehearsed to the point where everybody knows exactly where to pick up from.
So the bottom line is you definitely think that it is imperative for dealerships to train.
The funny part about that is we find that, when you're rocking and rolling and business is great, it hides a lot of sins.
Ooh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But here's what we also discover. We also discover as soon as there's a downturn or there's a little bit of a slowdown, those very same sins that got overlooked when business is great all of a sudden come to the front side. So the way that we try to do it is that when it's busy, nobody has time to train. Everybody likes to believe that they just keep moving and selling cars, right? And then as soon as it goes down, everybody's like, oh my goodness, what training were we doing? We try to absorb training on a constant basis. We try to do it daily to some degree. We always make time for it. It goes back to that old adage, well, when do you have time to train? Well, kind of look at it this way. When do we not have time to train? That's why you're here.
And I appreciate that. But what I want to understand is that, and I don't know if you know the stats, NADA says that the average dealership in the United States invests about $60,000 to $64,000 a month in advertising.
Okay.
But yet the average dealership invests less than $1,000 a month to train their entire staff. So what my question is to a high-level, GM and an owner is, why is that? Why do most stores or dealerships believe in spending a ton of money in marketing, advertising, and driving traffic? There's so many things, leads source providers, marketing, vendors, all this stuff, but they don't invest in quality development, in developing their human resources, their greatest asset. Why do you think that is?
What we have found is we turn around and we chase up counts, we chase lead counts. And you discover that you turn around. Nobody wants to, it's difficult to look and find the core reason as to why your either units are off or your gross profit is off. Okay. That's a tough look. You have to, so the easiest way to figure out is, we need more leads to sell more cars. Most places can't tell you what their lead count is, and they definitely can't turn around and give you the breakdown of what is composed of that lead count. So you might have a store that has 600, 700 leads a month. Okay, and their response to a downturn in business is we need more leads. My question has always been, and the one that we always try to have here is, what are we doing with the leads that we have?
Yes. So what I find, and it's kind of interesting, is that I think it has to do with paradigms. The way Dr. Covey says from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's called the see-do-get model. The way that we see something or perceive something is going to dictate how we act, how we engage a situation. Depending what we do is going to correlate to what we get. What we see makes us do something. What we do gives us that result. I believe that a lot of, managers and dealers, they don't see the value in their people as much, because there's constant turnover. We have a 70 to 80% attrition ratio in our industry. So if somebody's coming and going, I've heard people say this, and Zig Ziglar has an answer to this, is, okay, why am I going to invest in training if they're going to just leave? You know what Zig Ziglar says? Why are you, can you imagine if you're worried about spending all this money and training your people and they leave? You know what's worse than that? Is not spending any money and not training them and they stay. Right or wrong?
True.
All right. I just wanted to, get your opinion on that. So take us back. Let's digress. So you've been in the industry for 16 years. Why did you get into the automotive industry? How did you go from a naval officer, to becoming a car guy? What happened?
Retired out of the Navy. Had a very dear loved one get terminally ill. Went through that process, and the process of doing that, I had to turn around and find an occupation that was going to be, let's say, not as time restrictive, and give me some freedoms to be able to deal with the family situation that I had. Never had any interest in the car business whatsoever. Never, not even a concern. Never thought that I'd sell anything. I think the last thing I might have sold as a kid was maybe a Boy Scout cookie, I guess. But that's the reality of it. Okay. And then got involved into the car business and found out that it was a comforting area for me. It was something that it was competitive. At that time, it was really, really structured. So for coming out of the Navy, being structured, being competitive, met really, really well with my personal being. So I did well with it.
It's funny that you say that, is that especially talented and successful people like you in the automotive industry, almost all of them never had any desire to get into the automotive industry. Not only not desire, they could have never even fathomed that they would wind up in the automotive industry. Most people in this industry are here by circumstance or by accident. And that blows my mind, because most people don't wake up when they're a little kid and say, Mom, Dad, when I grow up, I'm going to sell cars. I'm going to work in a car dealership. But what happens is that when you get into this industry, it's compulsive, man. Like when you see what you could earn and the opportunity, it's addictive. Why do you think that is? Why do you think when people get a taste of this, they can't get it out of their system?
I think if you're competitive by nature and you like to win, it's a unique environment for you. If you're on a team and you have a game once a week, you get to feed that winning part of your personality. You could actually come to work in the car business on a daily basis and win every day. You're in a competition with yourself. You're in a competition with your teammates. You're in a competition with the people in your region and your zone. So if you're a competitive person, if you have that athletic background or just that desire to always triumph and to win and to be challenged, the car business is a great place for you. It feeds that part of your personality.
I would agree 100%. The other thing I think that is intoxicating about the automotive industry, it's one of the literally few careers that you could make as much money as you could earn. I was just telling your team the other day, there's a gentleman named Cody Carter from California who just in 2022 generated $1.1 million in personal income on the showroom floor selling cars. I mean, like, what career can you have without a college degree that you could make over $1 million legally just by your effort you put into it? So do you think that has a play that you have the opportunity to make as much money as you can earn in this industry?
I think it has an opportunity. I think it has a very big play on it. Where else can you turn around? I mean, if I look at my staff, I have staff members that are as young as 18 years old. I have staff members that are as old as 68. I have a service manager who used to be a GM in this industry before he retired after he retired the first time. He owns multiple houses, has a boat, has just finished his retirement home down in Florida. The car business is very, very good to people. If you put the work in, you'll get the reward. You don't have to turn around and be locked in based upon, and there's nothing wrong with government work, don't get me wrong, but government work is often restricted by time, and ranking. The car business, you can walk in today and turn around and be at the top of the heap by tomorrow.
So Nelson, with all of your experience that you have over the last 16 plus years, I want your opinion of now. We are now in 2023. It's a brand new year, and we just came out of a global pandemic that really changed the entire world, the way that people communicate, they research, they shop, they purchase, etc. So how has the automotive industry changed and evolved in 2023? It's a big question.
It is a very big question. Let's just take it from the pandemic and post-pandemic. In some areas, it's still pandemic, right? It's my belief, and this is just my opinion, the pandemic, amongst all of its tragedies, one of the other tragedy that gets overlooked is that car professionals got kind of lazy. I mean, and I know this isn't going to be a popular statement on this podcast.
No, it's
Everyone's
true.
going to look at it and be like, "Oh, he's crazy." But
no, you're right.
The reality is, it made it lazy. I mean, customers came in if they wanted to buy a car and they didn't want to pay the gross you wanted them to pay. You could tell them kick rocks because you only had 3, and somebody else would come in. And when that went on for a month or 2, that's one thing. But let's face it, that went on almost for a 2-year period.
Yes.
So now all of a sudden, inventory constraints are loosening. Okay, they're not back to pre-pandemic levels by any stretch, but they're much better than what they were.
Yes.
Customers now have options. So the very same customer that we got accustomed to telling, hey, have a nice day if you don't want to pay what I want, dealers that had addendums on cars, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. Okay, now you've got a customer that's coming in that turns around and says, hey, I have options. I don't have to accept being treated this way. But now when I say people got lazy, that laziness became the daily operational standard. Yes. Now when you greet that person with that same attitude, that customer's gone before most staff members, most management staff members even know they were there. Huh. Trying to get salespeople to function as professionals now. Okay, because they got comfortable in being able to sit back and say, okay, this customer's going to pay $5,000, $10,000 more. Okay, and if they don't pay it, I can tell them have a nice day. So that's a huge change. It's almost like the car business in 2023 has to go back to a rebirth.
Right.
We've got to retrain our salespeople to the standards of how our customers are going to be treated. We have to turn around and decide: are we just going to be automobile dealers, or are we going to be automobile, concierge? Are we going to care about our people, or are we going to care about our brand? What is the statement that we're going to make in our communities when we wait on these people? Because we've got a lot of damage to make up for. Ooh. Okay? We thought it was gravy and it was going to be fun. Okay? We all reaped the benefits of that in the car business, took those high grosses, made more. The common statement was, I can't believe it. I have no inventory and we're making more money than we ever made before. I hope it never goes back. Well, it has.
Right.
And it is. You can tell just driving down the road. 2 years ago, you drive down the street and you would not see an automobile transporter. Now you drive down the highway, they're in both lanes. Those cars are going somewhere.
Man, there's so many nuggets on what you just said. Let's just start with, as a national training company, it was very difficult in some circumstances to try to train people. How are you going to teach people how to fish when the fish are jumping in the boat and they're fat fish? Mm-hmm. And again, good times create bad habits. Here's something though. People that have been selling cars for 2 years or less have no idea what it was like with triple net. They don't know what triple net is. They don't understand, what the grind was. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, as we start going into the new reality, if you don't have those skills on how to hunt and gather, if you don't know the road to the sale, if you don't know how to properly qualify a prospect, identify wants, wishes, expectations, et cetera, you're not going to be as successful. So what advice do you have for our listeners? Let's start with the sales side. Again, you run a whole amazing sales team. What advice do you have for new or intermediate salespeople on how to embrace this career?
I actually feel like the new and intermediate salespeople have an advantage.
Ooh,
and the advantage is that they didn't have that 2 years of basic, let's say, gluttony, okay, for the lack of a better adjective, right? But they didn't have that 2 years of those habits of very, very little supply, extremely high gross profits, not a lot of energy or effort into securing that business. So when they come in now, they get the opportunity to learn what it is to actually have to work a car deal, how to turn around and reach out to a customer and meet their needs, to address their wants and their desires, to build value, things that we talk about as upper level management every day, but don't have, let's face it, you get somebody that's brand new, hey, you got to go build value in that vehicle. Well, that person's brand new. They're looking at you like, oh, okay, is that the sale price? We've got to back up as coaches, as leaders, and actually explain what that value is. Why somebody should buy here. What is our point of difference? What makes us different than somebody else? Okay, and more importantly, then we've got to, we have a philosophy here. If you do somebody correctly, if you do somebody right one time, they may tell one person. If you tell somebody or treat somebody wrong one time, they'll tell everybody they know. Okay, the reality of it is that we're a single point dealership. We're the only OEM dealer, okay, in our own county. With that being said, we are a destination store. We're not surrounded by other dealers. Therefore, we have to treat every customer right the first time. Because if they leave here, they're not coming back.
Right.
They're going to go to a location where there's multiple dealers. We're not on an auto row. So for us, the emphasis on how our customers get treated is very, very big and very important to us. Because we got one shot to make the right impression and to secure that business. And then we have to turn around and do everything in our power to keep it. Right down to our service, right down to our detail.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So now let's raise it up to sales managers, okay? What feedback or advice do you have to sales managers? I'm going to load this up because in my opinion, I think that sales manager position has got to evolve. I believe sales managers need to get off of the ivory tower, the throne, so to speak, and actually manage their people. But so many times they think that being a sales manager is just desking deals and penciling deals. They don't really develop their teams the right way, train, lead by example, do one-on-ones, etc. So what is your opinion on that? And what's your advice to sales managers, going into 2023 and beyond?
I'll answer that with a very short story.
Please. I love stories.
After these messages, we'll be right back. Dealer Synergy is an award-winning training, consulting, CRM, recruiting, and accountability firm. We are a 13-time Dealer Choice Award winner. We have proudly served automotive dealers for 20 years and have trained over 150,000 automotive sales professionals. We've worked with over 3,700 rooftops across the country, not including our global clients in Canada, Russia, the Dominican Republic, and more. We are the most sought-after subject matter experts and pioneers of the automotive industry. Our executive team has a combined 75-plus years of automotive industry expertise at the highest level. We've literally taken dealerships from having challenges and problems, some even on the brink of bankruptcy, to becoming national success stories.
It was like the perfect storm. Chrysler Financial was bankrupt. Dealer Synergy was what I needed immediately, had really helped build something from the ground up.
I just hired 8 people, and Dealer Synergy HR really was critical in me being able to do it.
You provided the training, you helped us with our CRM. You provided a solution for a lot of things that I was looking for. Our people loved LA, what Karen has done for me personally. Franca, her communication back and forth. You've got a really solid group of people.
Having somebody like Sean and his company that knows automotive, so the marriage between what knowledge he possesses and the fact that he has this great video production staff, it gives you the best of both worlds. So I would certainly recommend them.
Sean comes in the dealership and he advanced us light years ahead of our competition.
Just an absolute leading edge training company.
Go to BradleyOnDemand.com and give your team access to the best automotive training in the world.
Many years ago, a guy told me that, if you want to go on a bird hunting trip, I've got this great lodge. I said, okay, where is it? So he gave us the referral. As we turned around and we set the appointment, all 6 of us go out to this lodge. And we get there, he gave us a little bit of advice. He said, when you get there, okay, make sure that you ask for the dog, the bird dog, Major. It's the greatest dog ever. We get there, we go on this trip, we remind them of Major. Well, when Major comes out, this dog walks like no other dog you saw before. You knew that this dog had attitude, had swag, the whole 9 yards. We go out, this dog is flushing birds out of the river, out of trees, he's climbing trees. It was an awesome trip. The dog was fantastic. The guy asked us, like everybody, hey, when do you want to rebook? We set the date. Date comes up, we go back. We turn around, we do the same thing. We said, hey, oh, by the way, where's Major at? He said, oh, let me get him for you. He brings Major out. We don't really pay much attention to it. His swagger was there, but not just as much. We thought maybe he was a little bit tired. He was going to warm up. As we go out on this hunting trip, we're looking at this dog. It's not like the same dog. He doesn't jump up trees. He's not flushing birds. We have no clue as to what's going on. We get back to go, guy asks us, how was the trip? It was the most horrible trip, whatever. I asked him, I said, hey, what happened to Major? He said, oh, a couple months back, some guys came back in here and changed his name to sales manager, and he hasn't been worth a damn ever since. So I know that's not going to be a popular story, but when you ask me about, here's the thing. Yes. Here's the thing. We find that, everybody loves to have a title. Mm-hmm. Some of the issues that occur in the industry is that, when you get a title, you got to understand there's still work that goes with it. And by no means was that story meant as a slam against sales managers. I love them. Our operation can't work without them, and I respect everybody and the work that everybody has to get there. But I think we're all grown enough in this industry to understand that there's two types. There's the guy that turns around, the seat of his pants is welded to the chair. He never gets up and gets involved in car deals. He never gets up and goes and meets and greets customer. There's no sales manager intervention, early management intervention. They're not walking out there getting involved with their salespeople's deals. They take information, pencil a deal, and it rolls out. That sales manager doesn't have a place in our organization because this is a working store, And I found most stores that are successful have managers that get involved early. Yes. They have early management intervention. They have relationships with their salespeople. And more importantly than that, they have relationships with their customer. I need sales managers that move, that get up, get involved, and get involved early. And I think that type of team communication builds you a better sales team as well as a better management team.
So tell me, in your opinion, what is the job description, or what should be the job description, or what is the responsibilities of a sales manager?
Well, you ask a lot of big questions.
That's why we're on this podcast.
Okay. I think number one is their ability to communicate with salespeople. Mm-hmm. A sales manager needs to build the strength and the value and talent of the sales staff. Sales staff that don't want to come to a sales manager, sales staff that feels as though that manager is going to not be instructive, isn't going to turn around and be nurturing and encouraging. And let's face it, I understand. I've sat on a desk long enough to understand that all situations sometimes have to be dealt with differently. But sales managers need to understand by definition what that means. You manage sales. So if you have a sales force that doesn't follow you, it's not the sales force fault. You got to kind of take a minute and look at yourself and say, hey, listen, what am I doing? What signals am I sending? What levels of communication am I providing where these people don't want to follow behind me? Because we all know the old school day was, if you're a good sales manager, you make your people a lot of money. If you make your people a lot of money, guess what? They'll follow you anywhere. This is the car business in 2023. There's a couple of differences. Salespeople now are making money, but their incomes are coming a little bit more in line. It's not so much the days of when you turned around and they were making exorbitant amounts of money and the aggravation, was worth the compensation. Now you also have to remember what we're finding is you've got these Gen X and Gen Z, and they're not necessarily motivated by the money. They have other motivational factors. We're finding that they're more motivated by their quality of life. They're motivated by how much time do I have to go and enjoy what I want to enjoy doing.
So I want to redirect and talk about education. We want our BDC reps to understand inbound, outbound, objections, rebuttals, video, blah, blah, blah. We want our salespeople to do this, do that. Why do you think that a lot of sales managers, once they become a sales manager, they stop continuing their education? They don't get skills, personal development, professional development, advanced closing tactics, or even just sales management stuff, how to conduct a powerful one-on-one and things like that. So why do you think they stop the continuing education?
Well, I think people in general have a tendency to forget that any high-level management position is like a bank account. When you're a manager, especially in a car dealership, as you know, you're going to get bombarded with 100 questions a day. And early on, I was taught to look at those questions as a withdrawal from a bank account. So here's what happens. You've got 100 questions a day coming at you, and from the time you walk into work at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, whatever time you get there, hey, can I get this? Hey, I need this. Hey, do you know this? And then you've got your service department, you've got your accounting department, all these different people reaching into you, asking you for you to provide something to them. That's a withdrawal. So if you're turning around on Monday at 100 separate withdrawals out of your bank account, Tuesday another 100 separate withdrawals out of your bank account, at what point do you wake up and your bank account is depleted? It's either overdrawn or it's empty. So I've always tried to develop the fact that I have to find time and always put something in. I've got to make a deposit. Because over time, if you don't deposit, be it in training, if you don't reach out, watch different podcasts, if you don't turn around and participate and have a network of other like-minded professionals to turn around and feed you, you're going to look up one day and there's going to be nothing there left to turn around and give out to somebody.
Man.
And then we discovered we're burned out, we're tired, we hate our job, we don't like it, our dealer doesn't understand us, and then it morphs itself into 15 other different problems.
Man, this is definitely fascinating. I really appreciate your insight. I have a couple more questions I want to ask, and I know you got to go back to doing what you do. Let's talk about this on a general manager perspective / dealer owner, because you're a partner in multiple dealerships. What is your advice to GMs and dealer principals how to be able to engage in 2023? For example, to kind of frame this a little bit better, we talked about how important internet is and CRM and things like that. So on a macro level, what should dealers and GMs focus on to be able to embrace this new reality in our industry and be able to crush it?
One of the things, and I appreciate you asking me, I'm sure that the people that are going to see this and some of the people that you deal with are probably far more experienced than I am. So humbly, I'm just going to share which is something that we've looked at. Coming out of post-COVID, we've discovered that our traffic, our showroom brick and mortar traffic counts aren't at the numbers that they were previously. And I think that, and I'm just speculating here, I believe that a lot of that has to do with during COVID, people got very, very accustomed with online. Everything was online. We didn't even have to go get groceries anymore at the grocery store. Right? I mean, you could order them online, they deliver them to your front doorstep.
Real quick, I have a Samsung refrigerator that's a smart refrigerator. It's got cameras in it. Right. It automatically knows. No, it automatically orders through Uber Eats or whatever it is, the milk and stuff like that when it's empty. Crazy.
So you understand?
Yes.
So here's what you've got. When we turned around and that all happened, okay, now it's a little bit different. Now it's a little bit different. So we've saw our traffic counts go down. Because our traffic counts went down, we now see that, how do we see this traffic? Where does it come from? Well, customers now do the majority of their shopping online, even though our dealerships are now open, right? So our traffic counts are down. So what we're having to refocus on is, where do our traffic counts originate at? So before, we would have our BDC over here, and they would generate leads and they would generate appointments, and it would get kind of hidden by our normal walk-in traffic or drive-by traffic. And it would look like, okay, we've had a great amount of traffic. We sold a bunch of cars today. We had a great day. Now we're forced to really drill down on this and find out, what is our walk-in traffic? What is our internet traffic? What sources is that internet traffic coming from? Where are our advertising dollars being maximized at? What's our return? So we've really got to get almost surgical with where we're drawing our traffic from. And then when we find that location, find out what resources we're going to channel into those to maximize it. It's a little bit different of an approach.
No, I appreciate that. Now, let's talk about something completely different. Let's talk about the customers. Let's talk about the prospects. How has this changed? What do you think a prospect that wants to buy a car in 2023, what are their wants and expectations, and how can we serve them?
Time.
Explain.
Time. One thing that I believe that COVID taught us, and that we're seeing post-COVID is that customers value their time. I think post-COVID has made people understand that because they shopped from home, they have now the ability to turn around and gather their pre-shopping, their research, their investigation. They're down to their options. Now we're finding out that customers, when they come into our showrooms now, are far more educated than what they were pre-COVID. They would go to a car dealership and walk around and say, yeah, I'm looking for a car. What type of car do you have? Our customers now have gone into our websites. Not only have they gone into our websites, but they've comparison shopped at our websites. Because also this industry during COVID, let's face it, it shut down a lot of things. So we had a lot of very intelligent people that made up intelligent software and applications that actually support the customer being able to shop from home. Okay, so now they have as much ammunition as we used to have in selling a car.
Right.
Okay, and how to research a car and what car to purchase. So you just have to be cognizant of that. You have to understand that consumer that walked in the store, and this is just something that we're finding, is very well versed, okay, extremely intelligent about their purchasing decision and the options that they have. So once again, when I say time, you have to acknowledge that early on and not try to take the customer through the arduous paces that we probably did pre-COVID, and respect the fact that they have this new ammunition, they have this application, they have this intelligence about what they want to buy and how they want to buy it.
Man, this is powerful. What would you say your staff's biggest challenges are? Because I'm gonna set you up again with this. I want our listeners to be able to hear somebody as successful as you with your experience and see, wow, they're going through that too, and how they handle it. So what would you say, whether it's your BDC or sales staff, what do you think their biggest challenges are on a day-to-day basis? Is it objections, rebuttals? Is it having ups? Is it the low inventory? Is it drama? Or I don't want to lead you, but like,
I think it's a combination of all of it.
Speak, elaborate.
I think it's a combination of all of it. I think that they've gotten accustomed to when we had inventory shortages. And we still have some. I think they heard inventory shortage so much, it's now become part of their whole justification. Hey, how are you doing today? Oh, I've got a bad day. Why? Oh, we don't have enough inventory. Even though the inventory count is higher than what it was for the last 24 months. So I think that they now use inventory as a catch-all excuse in a lot of situations, not at all. The other side to it is that I think that, once again, the training. 2 years, no one had to be smart to sell a car. You just had to be there when somebody walked in, and you just had to have the car that they were looking for. Okay, in a lot of cases, because that's what it was. There was the demand. The demand.
So, but I'm going to cut you off on this because, these are great nuggets. Let's go to the first one you just said for the inventory. So, if a salesperson or the BDC rep is stressing about inventory, or they have a prospect that's looking for a car that's not in stock, how do you handle it?
We came up with some processes that probably aren't really, really favorable. We actually, the old days of, hey, this isn't a used car factory. Yeah. Oh no, we're a used car factory.
Explain. I love this answer right here.
We became a used car factory.
Okay,
and what I mean by that is that no, we have used car inventory. But if we have a qualified customer that's looking for a specific car, we built our resources to be able to find that car usually and have it delivered within 72 hours.
Anywhere from the United States?
Anywhere from the United States.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, again, if inventory is an issue or perceived issue, you've been proactive to make it a non-issue by creating a network and a mechanism and creating processes that allows you to find a pre-owned vehicle that this prospect wants somewhere in the United States and have it, wherever it's located at, delivered within 72 hours.
Correct.
That's amazing.
We can locate that car.
Tell us a story of something recently where you're able to find a used car factory.
We had a customer that was looking for a Honda CR-V. The customer was an online shopper. Okay, they actually were in Maryland. Okay,
and we're in Kentucky right now.
We're in Kentucky.
Right.
They wanted a CR-V. They were tied to a sorority, so the CRV had to be green. Okay, true story.
Fair enough.
We were able to appraise their vehicle, locate a CRV. We actually went and purchased it. We located it in one of our auction sources. We purchased it. We had it delivered to our dealership here in Kentucky. We naturally serviced the vehicle, detailed the vehicle, wrapped it and put it on a trailer, and literally delivered it to Maryland, Silver Springs, Maryland, to where this consumer was. They took delivery of it in their trade-in. We loaded back on the trailer that we turned around and delivered it on and brought it back to our store.
That's amazing.
The acquisition of the vehicle and the shipping of it took up to about 72 hours. It was about an 84-hour process from doorstep to doorstep.
How did the customer appreciate the experience? Because that would blow me away that I call a dealership out of state that doesn't even have the vehicle. They find it, it's green for my sorority, whatever. Were they blown away? Did they appreciate it?
They were extremely excited about it, and actually sent a message saying that they were going to come and visit us during the next Kentucky Derby when they're here.
I love it. I love it. We're winding down on the interview, folks, because he's busy. He's got to sell cars like candy bars. Now, let's talk about, the next one you said after the inventory was what? Training. Mm-hmm. So, hello, Dealer Synergy, we do training. Shout out. If I'm understanding, you're saying that a lot of the challenges are bottom line is that when you had 2 freaking years where you didn't have to have very much skill or practicing, it's you have inventory, you want it or not. The way to solve that is simply invest in training.
Correct.
How important, again, speak to the audience that they actually train on things that are relevant now. Because if you try to train on things that were relevant 2 years ago or 10 years ago, it doesn't make any sense. Can you be specific on that? You have to train on the right stuff.
Everything evolves, everything changes. I mean, let's face the fact, the way we sold cars 10 years ago, 15 years ago is not the way that we sell cars now. And you have to kind of you ever hear that statement, sometimes to get ahead, you got to get out of your own way.
Absolutely.
But we have to recognize and acknowledge that there are different practices, and this isn't a plug to Dealer Synergy, but the fact of the matter is this is a digital
you can plug me. What do you care? It's my show. You can plug me. Plug
this is a digital but it is. It's a digital, fast-paced environment that we have now. It's 2023.
Right.
Nobody's showing up. Very few people are going to show up to your dealership carrying a newspaper with your printed ad in it, walking around on Saturday morning kicking tires.
100%.
That's not going to be what you see anymore. You're going to see the people that walk in the door, hey, I saw this online. We're finding they've usually already made some type of contact with us, and that they're reaching out for a specific vehicle, specific option, or a specific set of options that we've communicated with them with. So to answer that question, what we've discovered is that we've got to get on pace with how quickly we're going to communicate with these people, what forms of communication that we're going to use to reach out to these people, that's going to engage them to come back at us. Because, hey, for 2 years, people were able to sit back and shop 6 different sites in 5 minutes. Nothing has changed 24 months later, except they're now looking for a car and they're still sitting at home shopping 6 different sites.
Let me build on what you just said. Again, back in the day, even just 2 years ago, the traditional amount of follow-up was email, phone call, text message. Now, it is imperative that we utilize video. One of the reasons why we're at your dealership right now is we're shooting a tremendous amount of video production for your CRM.
Correct.
Video emails, video text messages, video email increases read open rates up to 300%. Video, you have sight, sound, motion, and emotion. Dr. McQueevy from Forrester Research says that 1 minute of video is equivalent to 1.8 million written words. In addition to video email, video text message, being able to teach your sales team and your BDC to use social media DMs, direct messages, like LinkedIn, WhatsApp, like Instagram or Facebook DMs, utilizing Apple FaceTimes. So when we're talking about training your people how to do business in 2023 and beyond. All right, now, as we wrap up, this is like one of the final questions, I promise. Talk to me about what's working besides Dealer Synergy, of course. No shameless plug, we'll do it at the end. But like, what would you say, whether it's you personally, Nelson, from your experience, What is it that you are doing or your dealership is doing or your team is doing, whether it's a best practice, it's a philosophy, it's a technology as a vendor? Give the audience, these other dealers out there, just some love. You know what I mean? Like, what's working for you right now? What's making you guys successful?
The first thing that makes us successful is our team.
Amen.
We have a team concept. We have, a servant attitude toward our team. The day of somebody sitting on a throne or sitting in an office saying, "Hey, listen, this all happens because of me," that's not what we do here. We're successful because, and I could name everybody in our staff. Everybody in our staff should be in this room on your podcast because they all have played a vital role to our level of success. It's just that this is a really small room. But yeah, when you say what are we doing, it's a summation of what the things that we've talked about already. We don't find any magic dust. We have discovered that we got to work in 2023. We got to come to work and roll our sleeves up and go at it every day. It's not the market where we can come into work at 9 and leave at 4 and not work weekends. I mean, it's the car business. And that part of it hasn't changed. If anything, it's become more work because, the pie has gotten smaller, and people have gotten definitely more educated. They've gotten more independent in their ability to buy. We have the various vendors out there that will deliver a car to your doorstep. If you had said, "Hey, Nelson, are you going to be delivering cars to your customers' doorsteps that have never walked into your dealership 10 years ago," I'd have looked at you and said, "Sean, you're crazy." No, I'm not. If you had said, "Hey, 10 years ago, Nelson, are you going to open up a used car factory?" I'd be like, "No, Sean, we're going to sell from in stock. That's what we do." That was the response. That was the mindset. We've had to learn to be flexible. We've had to learn to not get archaic in our thought and not be rigid. Reach out to various companies that are making very large headway in digital, internet. Here's my plug for Dealer Synergy. Here you are. Let's go. And the reason is because you have products that we have not seen in our market. Okay, so therefore you've got to make a commitment to be on the cutting edge of things. If you're on that edge, if you make that commitment, you'll gain that traction. And that's what it is. It's like a football game, and we're trying to gain every yard.
Well, listen, as we close up here, Dealer Synergy was brought into your organization to do multiple things, from recruiting and staffing to customizing and re-engineering your CRM from your action plans, your templates, your processes, training, for showroom sales, internet sales, management, BDC, and then my separate company, which is Dealer Video Production, is why we're here right now, is to shoot tons of high-level video production content. I just want to ask you on air, what has it been like working with me and my team, whether it's for Franca and Naima from corporate to my staff on here? I would just like to have that.
Absolutely. I'm going to answer that two ways. As you know, I'm the general manager of this organization, but I got to first say that to work with you is a blessing. Okay,
Thank you,
you guys, you and your team bring huge amounts of value. You've got allocates all day long, but the fact of the matter is that one of the most astonishing things that we've found is that, you said you'd be here at 8:45 and at 8:46 you went to work and you didn't stop till 8 o'clock at night. That's every single day you've been here. That speaks volumes. I tell my kids, I tell the people that work for us, let your body of work speak for yourself. So if I look at Dealer Synergy coming into our store and I evaluate that body of work, by all means, it's at a high level. You guys did a great job.
Thank you.
But the thing that I definitely don't want to overlook is that, our involvement with Dealer Synergy, our introduction with Dealer Synergy came at, the NAMAD conference. And we have a dealer principal, his name is Marcus Withers, who showed enough foresight.
Thank you.
Okay, to basically meet with you and to realize that we needed to turn around and address, we needed to have some of what Sean Bradley and Dealer Synergy has to offer, and his vision, his foresight to be able to turn around and put this together is going to turn around to be a very good thing.
Well, listen, sincerely, it's been an extreme pleasure for me and my team to come into your organization, to meet your staff, to engage with them. And they've been extremely, hospitable. They've been kind, and they've just been immersed. And it's really exciting when, as a trainer, when you look at your trainees, your students, and they're excited, they're interacting, they're asking questions, they're taking notes. It's been
give you a hard time.
Huh? Yeah, it's fun, but I'm a car guy, so I love it. But I want to just close and say this: I sincerely look forward to sharing your success. I believe the best is yet to come. You have a fledgling organization, and I wish you profound success. Thank you so much,
brother. Thank you.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options.